Yeah, no worries.
I see myself on the screen now. Are you guys hearing us?
Oh, hold on. Wade says we're close and we're getting back to going. So.
Yeah.
Okay. So we might be back, folks. Are we back? I guess we'll notice in a second or two in the comments whether or not we have some audio. But Wade was working on fixing that, so I think perhaps he got it fixed. Yeah? Does it sound like it's working for you, Wade? Cool. All right, Alan. Well, we were just at the top of the show, just getting started here, and I was saying how this was kind of a milestone day for you because you actually went back down to Black House. So maybe you can let us know how that went.
Yeah, it was just kind of testing the waters, small groups only kind of one-on-one training with people. The gym's not quite really open yet. But yeah, I trained with Kenny Johnson. Me and him did some work. And it was good for me testing out my body, but also going back to one of my, like a real gym and kind of seeing what is the process going to be like as LA starts to kind of get back to the norm. It's not quite there yet, but it was a good step in the right direction for sure. Mm-hmm. So Kenny made us in with 500 sprawls today, my first day back, which 500 is actually a very low number. It's a super low number. Yes, because the
500 average sprawls.
500 sprawls. His average number is 1,500 to 2,000. So in his eyes, he was like, today was a light day. But for me, I'm like, come on, I haven't wrestled in 6 months. I'm coming off of a knee surgery, 500 sprawls.
How long does that take?
It's a lot. He likes to put you into the deep waters, but
No, but seriously, how long does 500 sprawls take?
Oh, we did 500 sprawls in 15 minutes. 15 minutes. And so, that's just basically him blowing the whistle, sprawl.
Oh, that sucks.
Non-stop, 15 minutes straight. And so you're pretty much just in that wrestling stance, squatted position, sprawling the entire time. I mean, yeah, it's good conditioning. It's good mental toughness.
Right.
I don't love it. I don't
know, dude. I would sing every expletive. Kenny would hear a song of curse words out of my mouth. Like
everybody, trust me. When you take a break, after you do like 30, you got to come up and get some air for a second. Right. And I look around the room and I see everybody going, and then they go back down and do it again. It's like, it's just a continuous of that. And then you kind of just like, you get into like autopilot where you don't even know what you're doing anymore. You just, but it's a lot.
It's a lot. That's a lot. Well, it's funny because I was doing my cross rope this morning and the workout that I was doing today, had us like, it had to do the jumping ladders, 2 minutes, 1.5, a minute 30, whatever, down and up with the two different weights, the ropes, and in between it was mountain climbers. Now, I think those suck. So if we're talking about sprawls and stuff like that, I think those suck. And so it was, nonstop. And so I know what you're talking about, that rhythm of like up, down, up, down, up, down. And literally it started, and this was only like a half-hour workout of like, the jumping and then the ladders with the mountain climbers, but they suck. And I was cursing out there, and I'm cursing at an app. You know what I mean? Because I was not in the mood today for those. So I feel you.
Cheers to that. Yeah.
I feel you. But all right, folks, obviously there was a lot going on. Maybe we'll start with the fight stuff, Alan, and then maybe get into some of the other things that were going on over the weekend. But It's kind of hard to separate the two, because if you really want to know, I had a rough week for me. Last week was rough. It was obviously there's a lot going on in the world with protests and everything. So the fights were a nice kind of getaway for a little bit of time. And we knew going into this one that Amanda Nunes, the champion there, she had the opportunity of being the first one to defend titles in both weight classes while holding the belts. She pulled it off. Obviously, Alan, going into this fight, we knew that Felicia Spencer had a really uphill battle, but we knew that she had a lot of heart, right? Because this is a woman who was able to go 5 rounds with Chris Cyborg, and she lived through that to tell the tale. Your camera working all right?
Yeah, sorry, guys. Had to make an adjustment. I apologize. Keep on talking, yeah.
Welcome to a very special episode of the MMA podcast.
All right.
So as I was saying, so we know that Amanda obviously was the big favorite, and Felicia had an uphill battle in this one. But she's a really tough woman, and she was able to go 5 rounds. Alan, as it went on, it became more and more obvious that Amanda was in full control. I mean, a lot of people expected that anyway, but we know that the best shot that Felicia had was probably going to be on the canvas. But as the fight went on, it became harder and harder for her to even approach the takedowns, to approach any shots. And at one point, Ellen, some people started sort of murmuring about throwing the towel. I don't know if you got to that point with this fight. What was your take?
Yeah, well, first of all, it stood out that it was, to me, in my mind, one of Amanda Nunes' best performances. And yes, she has slept Cyborg and put people away earlier. But when you talk about top to bottom, bell to bell, 25 minutes of offense, defense, sprawls, counter wrestling, judo throws, staying at range, like everything she did showed why she is the best in the world. Getting to the end of the fight, end of the round, when we were going into the fifth round, is when we started kind of teasing the idea, you know what? Is it worth going out there and giving Felicia 5 more minutes of damage? Does she have a shot at actually winning? Probably not. It's MMA. There's always an opportunity to win. But the way things are going, Amanda's getting stronger. She's got Felicia figured out. There's no surprises anymore. So when Joe Rogan and DC and them started kind of murmuring, as you said, the idea of throwing in the towel, I was on board. I was with it. But I did not think in any way it was as necessary as some of the previous fights. What was it? Anthony Smith a couple weeks ago?
Yeah.
We saw his, where he was taking substantial damage. And, okay, I'm not trying to compare size, weight classes, or men or women, but those guys were hitting very, very hard. Yeah. Where people were losing teeth. You were seeing hematomas, concussions. You were seeing damage that sometimes doesn't go away in 24 hours or 2 weeks, damage that punches holes in people's tickets. This fight, although Amanda Nunes is one of the most ferocious power punches we've had in the women's division in UFC, I almost felt like she kind of took her foot off the gas. I felt like it was kind of doing a little bit more like round 3, 4, and 5 was kind of getting to be a little bit more ground and pound in some ways and control rather than those knockout shots. So I apologize.
Avon calling.
Yeah, I know. I can't. It's one thing after another. But so, yeah, to answer your question, Karyn, I would have been completely fine with them stopping the fight. And I was also at the same time completely fine with her corner letting it go because she's a very durable fighter, as we saw. She takes shots well. She takes being in a bad position well as well. And she was very mentally strong. And you saw it in the fight. She had a smile on her face. She was pretty lighthearted considering the amount of damage she did take in the fight.
Yeah, and Felicia's husband is also a fighter, and he's in the corner with her. So obviously they have a great understanding of each other and her limits. You know what I mean? So I feel like I would trust Wade to throw in the towel and to really know when I needed it. You know what I mean? Type thing. So I feel like probably that helped as well in terms of the decision making. And I didn't think it got to the throw in the towel point for damage necessarily. More so only in, is this winnable? And really, it was more of that for me. It was more of if it had come to that, it would have been just keep Felicia from taking extra damage. But I agree with you. It did seem that Amanda maybe pulled back a little bit. The later rounds did sort of seem like more of sparring for her because to me, and again, it really just came to me that Amanda just realized, okay, I probably can't get hurt here. It started to look to me that she knew she could handle the best shot that Felicia gave her because Felicia definitely did give her some good shots. And there were a couple of times she landed some really nice punches. And it got to me in my head, I just thought it looked that Amanda was like, okay, I got the best from her. I'm not threatened by it. I know I can take her punches, so I can just implement my game. And yeah, I thought it was a really great display of control. She did everything that she wanted to do in full control. The whole time too, for me, also, I like watching Amanda in this. I mean, the woman, she's just incredible. Like, she's just like, I like watching Amanda should just be the end of that sentence, and it doesn't really matter where it goes from there, because she really is just an inspiration. She and Valentina just make me so happy. But for me, it was interesting to see Amanda at the heavier weight, right? Just to see, because we see a lot of time men go up and down in weight classes and sort of skirt that 50, 55, 70, that kind of thing. But to me, to watch Amanda in the heavier weight class go to work, that was interesting to me and sort of like, how much pressure can she keep up? What's the pace going to be like? How much comfort does she have in this body versus a 135-pound body? Now, I personally do still prefer to watch her fight at 35, but I did think that, you know, this was like, okay, yeah, she looks now, she's really living in this, and she could go for more rounds if she needed to. It didn't look now like a girl who just chunked up a little to fight up here. Do you know what I mean? It looked like, all right, yeah, no, I'm really living in this body, and I can do more with it.
And she mentioned that. She mentioned after the fight that she wanted to go the full 25 minutes. I guess, you know, once you get to this level, when you're the champion and you're repeatedly sort of kind of cleaning out divisions and you're getting that GOAT title, that pound for pound title, people are starting to look at their legacy and they want to take any little kink in the armor and they want to fix it. They want to say, I'm the most well-rounded fighter in the world. So she's at that point. She is so good in every area. When they said, okay, she's got knockout power, but is she good on the ground? She takes girls to the ground. When they said, can she handle the wrestling or the judo? You saw when Felicia Spencer would put her against the cage, she judo through her once or twice during the fight. She was sprawling on a dime every second. Everything looked amazing. But she also wanted to answer those questions. At the end of the fight, she goes, you know, I wanted to go to 25 minutes to answer that question. People will talk about my cardio, that I can't keep the same momentum the entire time. She did so impressively. Again, that performance, I saw from the opening bell. As soon as Felicia came out strong right away, and Amanda was able to stuff the takedown, circle out, do the right type of defensive wrestling, pop the jab, use the overhand, the aggressiveness, the kicks, the feints, and then when she did the judo throw on Felicia, I think it was the first or the second round, I was like, she is so in the zone. She is so in tune right now. And like you said, she's carrying this weight so well that she just seems unstoppable at either weight class that she competes in.
Go, Mandy. Go, man. She's
a total package. She really is a total package.
She's just awesome. She's just awesome. And she's funny, she's sweet, like she's just great.
I didn't mean to cut you off. I was gonna say we play with the term GOAT, greatest of all time, a lot, right? Sometimes we talk about who's the best champ, and we talk about DC, or they throw in Conor, or they throw in Anderson Silva. Yeah. Look at Amanda Nunes' body of work in 2 weight classes, defending the belt, never had a failed drug test, the dominance that she put forth, and then talk about her overall game. I don't know if any of the other people in that circle, when we talk about, I don't think Conor's really in that list, but we talk about a Conor or Anderson Silva or a DC. Those guys are really good, but Amanda is a black belt, high-level black belt at striking, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, judo, and now she's shown that she's got the stamina and she can do it in 2 weight classes. She really is the baddest woman on the planet Earth. She could really say, I could beat any woman that walks the earth today, and it's just something to behold when you watch her fight.
Yeah, it's awesome. So with that win, she brought her win streak to 11. Which is insane, tied for the second longest win streak in the UFC. So she's tied with Kamaru with 11. The only person who has a longer win streak is Khabib. He's got 12. But that's just amazing. So, and you know, she's defended both belts while holding the titles and stuff. She's just awesome. All right, let's see if we have any comments about Amanda and Felicia before we move on to some other things here. You know, I mean, I know a lot of the questions, of course, would be who's next for her? What can you do with her? And I'm not really sure. You know, there's mention of Aldana and, you know, Holm, again, some of these other people at 35. So I'll be interested to see what she does going back to 35. I think obviously now 45 is going to be on the back burner, right? We'll go back down to 35 and worry about that for a little while. I am curious what your take is on Cody Garbrandt, though, because I lost my ass when that knockout, I'm not gonna lie, you know, like this is the come clean part of the podcast. Sometimes in the post show we come clean on stuff, Alan, and kind of like last week how I just fully admitted I wanted Tyron to win because I wanted him to come on that comeback trail, and I really was hoping for my friend to win. As much as I love Gilbert, I was really looking for T-Wood to get back on the horse there. In this one, I really was hoping for Cody to win, right? I wanted to get Cody Garbrandt back. And I wanted him to have that comeback fight. I wanted him back, quote unquote, in the mix. He's been gone a really long time. The kid has, you know, you can't not watch him. He's an interesting guy, and he's a nice guy. He's a good kid who's really grown up a lot in the last few years. And so I've really wanted to see him come back and make an impact. And that was like, oh, snap. Like that was beautiful. That was beautiful.
Okay, so we're just not going to address the elephant in the room. Is that what's going on, Karyn?
Which is what?
Who was that guy that walked out that said he was Cody Garbrandt? Because I didn't recognize him for about the first 30 seconds of the walkout.
The Teen Wolf?
The beard and the haircut, a little overgrown.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, is that Cody? Like,
yeah.
Did he change camp? So he changed his style.
Right.
Yeah, it was such a different look. He's always been like that guy that when he came into UFC, they were like, oh, he's the handsome, clean cut.
Totally.
Like he's the guy that gets a haircut every Friday.
Yes.
He's tattoo once a month kind of thing. And then all of a sudden he said, I'm going quarantine. I'm going full quarantine for this fight. I'm not making any changes. He came in there a different looking guy. But you know what? He got a huge, when you talk about trying to get that old stuff out, to cleanse the system, to reinvigorate your career, what more can you do but put out the leading knockout of the year candidate thus far?
Mm-hmm.
So impressive. I got to say one thing. Cody looked very sharp, but I still saw a lot of tendencies, old Cody tendencies in that fight. If you rewatch the replay of his amazing knockout, I don't want to take away from it.
Right.
But if Assuncao would have been a little bit more accurate, he would have slept Cody right there. If you saw Assuncao how that counter hook, Cody kind of opened up a little bit too big, and Assuncao just missed the mark by about 6 inches. He missed it pretty drastically, but he would have been the one to land first. So if he had hit Cody, we could be telling a complete other story, but that's fighting. I get it. It's a game of inches, and things happen. Cody, it was an amazing knockout. That's what we loved about him. That's what we fell in love with. When Cody came onto the scene, he was a savage guy with amazing speed and the power to back it up. And when he landed on your chin, it would just put your lights out. And early in the fight, he was kind of stiff. I don't know if you saw that, Karyn, but I thought he looked a bit stiff. I was expected. I don't want to say I was expecting. I gotten used to seeing the Cody with swagger. The Cody that had fought Dominic Cruz and did the dance move and the pop and lock during the fight. And so in the beginning of this fight, I thought he felt a little bit stiff, probably being the circumstances. He had coming off some knockouts. He wanted to fight good. As soon as he started landing, that confidence started oozing out of him. And he started getting a little bit flashier. And he started showing stuff. He started doing that kind of like Street Fighter sweep to the low leg kick.
Right.
When he was beating up Assuncao's leg. And that's when Cody fights best, when he's kind of in that confidence mode. I get it. We, as fighters, get confident when we're landing and we feel like, all right, I'm in control of this fight. He needs to just kind of find that confidence throughout the fights. But I like the new improved Cody. Amazing fight, amazing comeback, and that knockout, again, candidate knockout of the year for sure.
Yeah, it was intense. I think there was a little, maybe a little stiffness at the beginning, a little hesitancy. It's been quite some time since we've seen him in there. And I did definitely a couple times when, he gets in those firefights, like you said, some of that old Cody was still in there and that's great. Right. But it is like, oh, no, your chin, like, be careful. Like, there was definitely a couple of those moments where you wondered how he was going to hold up. And, sometimes people take time off and their chin sort of recovers and comes back. Sure. And you wonder about a lot of that stuff. So I too got nervous a couple of times in some of those firefights, and I agree. Like, I think that's what's cool about Cody is he'll always be that guy in the dogfight, right? So he'll always, at the end of the day, probably revert back to like F it and just like throw down in the phone booth, which is cool and it's gonna be dangerous, but that's also why we're watching him, right? But the other thing that you do hear sometimes, right, when people switch coaches, and I know he was working with Mark Henry, and I know especially Mark Henry is somebody that has this whole system that people have said, once you understand it, it's incredible. But, sometimes it's just an adjustment, getting in this new system and the way they call different things out. So maybe some of the quote unquote stiffness was just from trying to implement a new game plan or something. I'm definitely curious to see what happens the next fight, the second fight with the coaching, because already we've seen some solid changes. And you saw too that Uriah was still tweeting about him there, and Cody's like, and my guys, my other, we're still all together, like, so he's trying to make sure not to disrespect anybody that helped him on the way up or anything like that. I just thought it was great, and I really like the perfect way to come back, like the perfect comeback. You can't, come on.
Great comeback. And I didn't follow, to be honest, what happened with him switching camps, not being at Alpha Male anymore. But I will say this, going with a guy like Mark Henry, who's a veteran coach, and he's a coach. He's not a fighter coaching. He's not a bunch of guys at the gym cornering your teammates. I'm a coach, and you're going to listen to how I do it, and then we're going to have success together from that. And that's probably what he needed at this time. You know, he wasn't finding success anymore. And sometimes you get in a rut as a fighter and go, I need something to kind of spark the fire, which he said, I get that desire back inside of me again. And maybe that's what it is. Going to a new place, learning new things again is so fun as a fighter. Oh, I've never done this style. I've never thought about it this way. And it reinvigorates you. And so that's probably the right step. So I applaud him, is what I'm getting at, for taking that necessary change that he must have needed in his career and turning things around in a big way.
Very cool. Well, let me see if there's some comments here, if people were as fired up about Cody as before. Well, people are talking about, Mark Henry and Richard Alameda being geniuses for sure. Those guys are pretty great, and they have a lot of what would I say? Yeah, and a lot of success stories there. I'm also, I'm not seeing necessarily too many questions here, but I'm glad that we have folks in here having conversations with us about it. It is actually quite interesting, though, because I wanted to talk about this next fight, which was also in the bantamweight division anyway. And it was kind of cool to have those back and forth. And if I'm honest, I was actually really looking forward to Aljamain versus Cory, rather. I kept thinking that was the co-main event. No disrespect to Rafael and Cody, but I just in my head kept thinking that the Sandhagen Sterling fight was the co-main event. And so I was really fired up for that one. And then once that one was over, I was like, whoo, okay, only one more to go. And then all of a sudden, they start, wait, what? Oh, there's another fight. I was all ready for Amanda and Felicia to start coming out. But anyway, this fight was really, really important. We know that the guys are trying to get to the title fight. Cory Sandhagen is amazing at jiu-jitsu, but apparently not amazing enough on Saturday night, because Aljamain came out and did the damn thing to the man who usually does it to other people. Yeah, I mean,
and derail somebody with the momentum that Sandhagen had behind him. But Aljamain Sterling, he's reminiscent. He's almost like a Joe Benavidez. He's a guy that has been at the top of the division for a long time, and he's due his shot. He's put in the work. He's got a big fan base. People love him. Something about him. I don't know. Aljamain, I like watching him.
He's fight. Jamaican, Alan. That's why. That's why he's so lovable. That's why he's got so much swagger. It's why his skin is so gorgeous. It's why he can dance. It's why.
We're being a little bit biased here, I think, Karyn. No, I'll say this. I think what it is, I mean, aside from Aljo being a tremendous fighter, he can laugh at himself. The guy says stuff. Look, when he said in an interview with Joe Rogan, I'm coming in that ass or something like that. And then he's been retweeting it. And when he got knocked out and he went into a dab. And you know what? That could break fighters. You are so embarrassed. But he retweets it, he laughs at himself, and it makes other people know that, man, this guy's a good guy. He's a good dude, he's a fun fighter, and he's legit. I mean, the guy, I've always said that, me and you talk about this, he is one of the pound for pound most shredded guys we have in the UFC. He's just a freakishly strong athlete, and I've grappled with him before, and he is no joke. He's like a little spider monkey with somebody like me, because once he gets on you, I can't shake him off. And it showed. He was so confident. Once he felt completely confident. He was able to put his squeeze to work and finish that fight. And nothing feels better than putting somebody out early in the fight, not taking any damage, and being able to say, yo, Uncle Dana, let's do another one. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go again. So you can keep that momentum working for you.
Yeah, and I if I'm honest with you, I was not expecting it to end that quickly.
Not at all.
You know what I mean? Because that was the whole thing. I think we even said on last week's show, we were maybe a round and a half, because they're both so equally skilled. And that's when I did an interview with Cory before this fight, and he was talking about that. Yeah, we're well matched. I think this is going to take a while. It can be this great grappling display, but Aljo just got on there so fast right away. And really, it actually. he really stuck with it as well, right? Because at first it kind of looked like maybe he had the choke, and then it really wasn't under there, and then he kind of got loose a little bit, and then he reworked it. So the commitment to that, and there was just a lot of composure, I guess, in the moment, even though everything happened so quickly. I really applaud Aljamain's composure. And, they said that Jan and Aldo are probably going to fight, right? So now these guys are just going to sit there and have to wait. But, if you don't give Aldo a title shot right now, I don't know what's up. I agree with you on everything you said about the way he is able to laugh at himself and approach a situation. You can't be a Serra-Longo guy and not have a sense of humor. You know what I mean? You can't be around those guys and not be able to have a thick skin and be able to bust somebody's balls and take what you can give as well. But yes, I am biased. Aldo is Jamaican too. Folks know my mom is Jamaican. I'm half Jamaican. So a lot of, I like Aldo. I'm not going to lie. I like to see the kid win, but Cory is such a good dude. This was one of those, how about an awesome draw, except you didn't want to draw because we want title challengers, right? But really great fight. Aldo did mention afterwards, he was like, hey, we need to have UFC Jamaica, which he and I have talked about before, so we need that. I know you're on you would be down for UFC Jamaica, UFC Kingston, UFC Negril, whatever it is. Okay. I hope it happens. And also Aldo was very outspoken on the microphone as well about Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. And I just love that he used the time on the microphone in such a positive way. So really just such a great night for Aljamain.
Great night for him. Correct me if I'm wrong. Sandhagen was undefeated going into this fight, correct? Was he 11-0?
I think he was, yeah. And that was the whole thing, is that he's just been on a tear, and nobody wanted to fight Cory before because his ranking was low and he was so dangerous. And so then, he was getting, people would say no, but then when he would get the fights and he's winning them and stuff. And so, yeah, it was quite the matchup.
And that's what makes it all the more that impressive and makes Aljo even more deserving. Because this is a guy that was on a tear, undefeated, and not only undefeated, but to take a guy out and with the first round, to finish a guy without taking any damage in the first round, who has never tasted defeat. I mean, I was happy for him. You could see him. And he was in shock as well. I don't think he had any idea that this would be finished that early in the fight. I think he was prepared. I think he said it. He was prepared to die. Maybe that was somebody else, but one of the guys was saying, I was prepared to die in there, and then you go like this. It's just, I love those fights. You get out of there, you get your paycheck, you're uninjured, you go and you enjoy your life, and you ride that momentum. So hopefully the fight gets made sometime in the near future. It doesn't have to wait that long.
Yeah, I hope he doesn't have to wait that long. But, it's interesting, too. Like you just said, Cory Sandhagen is the guy, he's the guy that was doing that to everybody else. Mm-hmm. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Aljo's game evolve from a wrestler who liked to throw long kicks and did not use his hands. And then he would use the long kicks instead of the takedown, to a guy that elevated his punching, his hands, especially when he fought my friend Pedro Nunes. I said that on the last podcast. And then to go in here and use the versatility of his entire game to take the back and put somebody out, an undefeated fighter. He's ready to go. He is that guy in line to show I'm the best in the world next.
Yep. It was awesome. We do have a couple of questions on some things, but was there anything that really else that stood out to you all night? I mean, because
me?
Yeah, for you, what was because I love Sugar Sean as well, but I don't know what.
It was the O'Malley fight.
Yeah.
That fight was impressive. Granted, I don't want to take away the heat. Don't get mad at me, people. But that opponent, I say that opponent. I'm blanking on his name. Can you remind me his name? O'Malley fought.
Eddie Wineland, right?
Eddie Wineland. Thank you very much. Who is a terrific fighter, but he's not in his prime anymore. We know that, right? And if you're taking stylistically matchups, a guy that fights with his hands down and is very aggressive and can kind of walk into shots at times, it's a really good matchup. So take that and think about that for a minute. It was a good matchup for him. But to sleep him like that, to put him down, to have that walk off, it shows Sean O'Malley, man, he is with you. I was kind of not quite sure because, anytime we get these guys that the UFC loves, the Paige Van Zants, O'Malley and what was his name that used to train at Sage Northcutt's.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? These guys are people that are really good fighters, but they're kind of given a little bit of a push and they're given good matchups. So it's hard to really say how good are they because we don't know yet because the matches have been good. But when you're able to put people out like this, it just shows the sky is the limit. And earlier this year, or what was that, last year when he competed in the jiu-jitsu competition at the UFC, he showed he's got tremendous jiu-jitsu as well. He's learning. He is a tall guy. So he's going to be a force for people to deal with. I would say, yes, he's ready to fight up. He's ready to fight up in competition now. Give him some guys that are just tough matchups rather than the favorable matchups because he's outgrown that. He's outgrown the favorable matchup phase of his career now. We know him. He's a star. But it was a beautiful knockout up until Cody Garbrandt. And then Cody Garbrandt shut the lights out and stole that bonus away. Well, they all got bonuses, actually. They got bonuses. But, yeah, we were thinking that was going to be the knockout of the night for sure. But Cody Garbrandt had something else to say about it.
Yeah, it was it was pretty spectacular. It was spectacular. I like Sugar Sean. I'm not gonna lie. Like I think he's an entertaining kid. You know, he had come to UFC tonight. You know, before a couple times or whatever. And he's a good kid. Like I know what you're saying about the hype, right? You get a couple of people that get a bunch of hype and they get nice matchups and they're built up and you're not really sure if they're actually, you know, good or not. And then there's a part of you that's like, I don't know if I really want to go all in on this kid because it's kind of being forced down my throat and I'm supposed to, you know what I mean? And so, yeah, you get a little bit like, I don't know. But he keeps proving that he is the real deal. And like I said, he's a good kid too. I love his look. I love the rainbow fro. I love that he's a unique character. Sugar Sean is definitely doing it his way, and I find him highly entertaining. And I think yes, he needs a real step up in competition now because we're seeing that he has a lot more to offer. And I really want to see him get pushed. Yeah, I mean he did get a performance bonus. So did Aljo. So did Cody, and so did Alex Perez. Those guys all got bonuses on Saturday night.
I to be honest, and you could argue with me on this, but I would have given Amanda a performance bonus just because when you go 25 minutes of a perfect fight, I would have said, look, the champ, like she's holding it down. I would have given her one just for her performance from bell to bell. But I'm not mad at the other guy that got it. Just something about this picture is a little crazy to me. I don't know.
The mask, and yet
the girl wrapped around his shoulder.
The hotness wrapped right behind her.
Yeah, they could be. There could be some crazy photoshopping done in this picture. I feel like, but I know we know at MMA Heat the clean side to the story. I love that they do that every fight, but yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, well, Conan's he's awesome too. I mean, the AT&T folks, that's just a cool gym. A lot of solid people down there. Yeah. Hold on, let me see if we have some other questions here. You know, speaking of Amanda, again, somebody had asked in the questions about the featherweight division and what the UFC could do to build it up again. So that is an interesting thing. And to be honest with you, you know, there aren't as many women in there yet. And, you know, the other day when I did an interview with Felicia before a pre-fight interview, and then we also did a no wrong answers with her. She's a really nice girl. And it's fun to check it out. I asked her, like, if she prefers Star Wars and Star Trek, that kind of stuff. But my point is that when Wade was going to put the edit on that, he said, oh, well, what's her ranking? Like, I can't find her ranking. And I was like, well, they don't really have the rankings for the featherweights because it's not deep enough yet right now. Yeah. And so we know that a lot of the women that have fought in the featherweight division have come over from Invicta. And I don't know if maybe it's the type of thing where the UFC, maybe featherweight is the one where we start to loan out people from other organizations or, you know, match up from other places, because I don't necessarily want to just liquidate Invicta or liquidate PFL or you know what I mean? Bellator. You don't want to see that happen. But at the same time, we want more talent. And I spoke to Julia Budd before when she was champion, before she fought Cyborg over there. And we were talking about Bellator has a deeper division over there for 45ers. And Julia was very proud of that. And so there is talent out there. It's just that UFC didn't invest in it as early as some of these other places did. So they have a deeper talent pool. So maybe this is the type of thing now where it is, hey, let's do some loner fights, or let's do this or that for the growth of women's MMA overall. I think that would be really cool.
Hey, and look, I don't know if you're going to agree with me, Karyn, but I'm all for some cross-promoting or cross-sport promoting. Like, at this point, Amanda Nunes is the GOAT, right? She's proven everything.
Right.
There's not really anybody left for her to fight that's like, we must see this, or like, this is the next person. There's not really even like anybody down the line, unless there was some type of trilogy with Valentina Shevchenko. Right. But I don't necessarily need that to happen, because they both found their rightful homes at 25 for Valentina, 35-45 for Amanda. But now, if we start getting into, look, maybe let's have a boxing type match or something like that. Clarissa Shields and girls like that have talked about possibly entertaining the fact of coming into MMA. I don't know. I don't know the timing and the logistics of when it would happen, but I feel like Amanda has cemented herself, her legacy, her career. Now is when she can start doing fun stuff and making money doing these odd fights and doing stuff like that. And I wouldn't really have a problem with it, because if Conor McGregor, which we can probably get to in a second, you know, if Conor McGregor was still fighting, we'd say, look, you have a lot of fights that you still have to prove. Maybe a rematch with Dustin Poirier, maybe a rematch with Khabib. We want to see what happens with you and Justin Gaethje. You don't need to go fight Mayweather right now. There's stuff that has to happen for Conor and other fighters. But for Amanda, I say go do these circus fights, these funny ones, and make some money and blow your name up, because she's done everything. She wiped out the divisions as much as you possibly can.
Yeah, on the broadcast, wasn't DC was saying, Clarissa or somebody was saying, like, get your takedown defense going, you know, like trying to get her, you know, because they wanted Shields to cross over into MMA. But yeah, no, it is interesting. And you know, look, I just hope Amanda gets all the money she can while she can. And like, you know, she's just a badass. But yeah, for me, we're going to need to acquire some other talent, you know, for her to face.
Agreed.
Let's see. A little out of nowhere, Snoop says, but do we think Brandon Moreno is ready for a title shot getting down to the 25ers? Maybe. I love the baby-faced assassin. He's definitely getting up there. Let's see. What did I there was something else. Oh, my other favorite moment from the night, though, and I guess it was, what was it, Cody's knockout, when DC just started going, world star.
Oh, yeah, I
world star. It was either Cody's or it was Sugar Sean's. I can't remember, but I was dying laughing. Right?
It must have been Cody's, because it was so violent. Where O'Malley's was kind of like a walk off that wouldn't. I don't remember him saying that, but yeah, it would make me think that it was more of a Cody Garbrandt one. But
it was so funny. It was so funny. DC was on fire. That. And when he was calling Amanda's right hand Freddy Krueger in the build-up, no, don't go that way. Don't go to the right hand. The right hand is Freddy Krueger. Like, DC, he does crack me up. All right, Alan. So this weekend, Cynthia Calvillo is facing Jessica I. That is the main event. I had reached out to Cynthia. Hopefully, we'll be talking with her this week. I'll reach out to Jessica and see how that goes. That is the main event. But on Saturday night and stuff. So otherwise, you know, Alan, it's an interesting time, right? There's a lot of things going on in the world. And I mentioned it before that Aljamain had spoken out about the protests and everything. Like, you know, you and I both have kids, and Aurora's a little bit older. She's 13. And, you know, this obviously affects her life. I'm her mother, right? And even though my daughter came out very, 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 very fair-skinned, and a lot of people don't even know she has chocolate in her, you know, it's a very trying time for us this past week. So I'm just curious, you know, your son is a lot younger. How has he been handling everything? Wade was went up and filmed some of the protests yesterday in Hollywood. How's Cage doing with all this?
He's doing pretty good. You know, I'll say this. I think every one of us, black, white, political party, whatever it is, we're all, and we need to be learning every single day. The same as when the coronavirus came, we learned a lot. People took opinions, and then they added politics into it, and then that started turning things. But we were learning about it, and this has been a learning time for me with the Black Lives Matter movement and everything. When this first came out, we spoke about it on this show. I don't know how much of it made the cut. We might have spoke after. I can't remember. But the looting, rioting stuff was all I could focus on. And I wasn't focusing on the actual agenda at hand and the meaning and the purpose at hand. And I learned as soon as that stuff was done, and I was seeing these peaceful protests and the movement, and it made me realize, yes, this is what it's more about. But some people focus on other things more than others, and that's just the way that we are. With my son, I know that it was stressing him out, listening to me being frustrated because I was seeing, it seemed like the world was burning down or something, and I didn't take it lightly. And I saw the stress I was giving my son, and so we kind of just reset after 4 days or so. That stuff had kind of calmed down, thankfully. And then I kind of just had to hit the rewind, the reset button. I even text you one night and I go, you know what? I kind of was rethinking everything. And I text Karyn, for those of you that are listening right now. And I said, I hope I never said anything that offended you. Sometimes I was speaking my mind, but even that same day, I kind of felt differently after that, after doing more research and seeing different things happen. So with that said, since then, me and my son have participated together in 2 protests. Good. And I go there with them and just tell them we're here so that everybody can have equality. We want the same for everything. And I don't get too political, but I tell them, some of the police aren't doing good stuff and brutality. And so we're further, you don't want to put too much in your son's hand, but we were at a protest yesterday in Malibu, and somebody was coming by, and I was filming. But anyway, my son saw me filming, and he put his fist up in the air like that, and it melted my heart, man. I thought it was so cute for him to do that, but to see that he was listening and he was seeing what people were doing and he wanted to be a part of it. And so he's good. I feel much better about the situation now, that I feel like it's more about people coming together than people fighting and battling, which I didn't like in the beginning. And so I'm appreciative that we've come to this place that we're at right now, even though we've got much further to go in making everything happen that we want to happen. Just the state of the nation right now, that things aren't burning. It's more about the love and positivity than the other stuff. Makes me sleep easier at night.
Well, I think it's been proven that a lot of the people that were breaking windows and stuff were subverting the message of the protests anyway. And those were not the people from Black Lives Matter anyway. And those were people that were specifically trying to distract from the point of the protest in order to make Black people look even worse, and things like that. So yeah, guess what? You can rebuild a story. You can't reanimate George Floyd. He's not coming back to life. Your frickin' store can, though. So for people who are more upset about a store burning down, anyway, but it sucks, right? Because like our buddy Bilal, like his family has a shop in Chicago that got trashed. That absolutely sucks. We have a friend, a neighbor here whose uncle, I think it was, placed in Birmingham, Alabama. His got trashed. He had a restaurant. I'm not saying that that's not important. That obviously is really important, and it sucks. Like for Bilal, that supported his family, and it really is unbelievable that these things have happened, and a total tragedy and a travesty. It should not have happened. But it was, I guess you would say, a collateral damage to the main issues of people are like, yeah, like we're systematically getting hunted. That's a problem, and that's something that overrides, this issue. It's something that like has been an issue for me for my whole entire life. So I'm happy that people are protesting and that people seem to be taking a little bit more attention. I'm reservedly optimistic. I don't know, Alan. I had shared a post the other day on my Instagram while I was doing this puzzle. And because last week was pretty stressful. So between jumping rope and doing my puzzles, that's like how I get all my stress out now. But it's very tiring to get your hopes up that something's going to change, right? And that's like the hope, and then the letdown, the hope, the letdown, the hope, the letdown. And that's basically what's happened all my life there, because I've just dealt with so much racist shit, that I started to stop getting hopeful that it would change. And so every few years something would happen, or maybe somebody would get elected, or maybe something would happen, or somebody would protest something, and you'd start to get your hopes up. And then same shit, different day. I would still go not get jobs because I wasn't blonde, and I'd still not get paid as much, and I'd still not get opportunities. I'd still not get into this place. I'd still not get accepted over here. I still get followed around the store. I still can't get this. So that doesn't change. So I have a lot of fatigue. and you can probably sense a little anger. So I really do hope it works, and I hope that some things change, but I totally don't think it's going to until a lot of people that are in office, frankly, just die and are eviscerated off the face of the planet, because there's too many people in control that have too much to gain from stuff staying the way it is, right? So they're not actually going to change anything. I'm very much buoyed by the fact that talking to my daughter, and who's 13, and her friends are so cool. And like you just said with Cage, like, he's little. These guys, like, they have a whole different look on things, and they know from, like, her whole life has been around. She has just been around all different kinds of people. So I have a lot of faith in the generations behind us doing really, really positive things. And that gives me a lot of hope, you know? So it's just tough, because when people get annoyed at the Black Lives Matter thing and the whole all lives matter, like that, you can take a short walk off a long walk off a short pier if you come at me with the all lives matter thing, because I put it on my story. There's a great cartoon that kind of speaks to it, with the kid says Black Lives Matter, and then the guy's like, all lives matter. And then the person's holding up the sign, and they said, like, you know, breast cancer awareness, and they're like, all cancer matters, you know. And then it's just like that kind of thing. It's like when you take that and you look at it in other respects, it's like, well, it's silly. They were saying it was Breast Cancer Awareness Month, right? Like, that's the only one that matters. So it's just that they matter. It's not that, and there's no Black Lives Matter more than anybody else's. It's just that they matter. They matter. Please fucking care about us. Please fucking care.
I understand. I see the emotion. I get it. I feel good about it, Karyn.
I hope. I really do. I really hope.
I don't think you could say that either of us throughout our lifetime have ever seen this kind of unity, people coming together, and such a push for change. I can't remember anything in my lifetime that there's been so much. We've had activists, and we've had Dr. King and all these people before that evoked change, but to see the world kind of, or at least the world as well, but the nation coming together on this and wanting change. And you look at the protests now, and you look at the mixed races that are in there. It's really an encouraging thing to see. And then you see in what some of the cities are doing, where they're changing funding and stuff. Yeah. I feel like that is the start of it right now. So yeah. And you know what? With all that said, without getting too heavy into politics, though, it is an election year, and so with the momentum and the push that the nation has right now to create change, and then being an election year, that we could actually start the process of change, starting at the highest up. I feel very positive that things will start to change. But
yeah, and it's just hard because I had to take a break, like, and our buddy Joe Schilling sharing a lot of stuff. Like, it was so stressful watching that poor old man get pushed down by the police, you know. And if you hear the whole story, apparently that he was actually trying to return a helmet or something to the police force, and they like push him down. And a lot of people know that when I'm talking about that kind of older, tall, skinny gentleman, and they push him down, and that's so upsetting. And then you see one policeman like kind of try to stop to help him out, and then the other guy's like, no, move it along. Like, that's heartbreaking. That's a human being. Like, come on, what are you doing? And like, you know, we talked about this before. Like I've said, I grew up in a small town. Like, cops are our friends. It's not like I think all cops are bad, but like there's some really crappy people out there who have a very, very, very big impact on the lives of a lot of people, and not okay.
I'm glad to hear it. I'm glad to hear you say that, because I had to take a break from some of those posts as well, because although those are traumatizing to watch, those type of posts, all the posts that are just saying F all the police, I don't quite understand, because it's just speaking too emotionally. Because if you rationally take, let's take our emotions aside and say, so what you're saying is that we just want to have no police in the world. You're just saying it's just a free fall. I don't think that's rational minded speech. Yeah. And so, yes, there's emotions saying F the police and make a change from the top and get rid of the bad police and educate them. But to just say F them all, I don't agree with those. And so, like, I'm glad that I feel like at this stage in the game of this change, that I feel there's a lot more rational speaking starting to happen, where there's a lot of anger and emotions mixed with people trying to do wrong, mixed with people that were confused, and everything was mixed together. So it's hard to decipher what the true message was amongst the good people, where now we're starting to see it. But yes, I hope as it goes on, we continue to think rationally and what's rationally going to make this change happen rather than the irrational stuff. To me, that getting rid of all the police forces, I'm not with that at all.
Right. I also, before we wrap it up, though, I still believe that COVID is a threat too. So hopefully people are safe, hopefully, and that's one thing where some people are like, well, what is it? Is COVID here or not? Because they're protesting. So, the thing about it is people of color were dying from COVID at a much greater rate anyway. I think a lot of people are like, well, calculated risk. I'm going to die. I've got a greater chance of dying first at the hands of cops than a white person does anyway, than COVID does. So I think that was honestly the rationale for a lot of people and going out there. I think, obviously some people don't believe in it or whatever. A lot of people were protesting, wearing masks and stuff. So I do hope, though, that as a person who believes in it still, that people take some security measures and safety measures when they are out there, because you just don't know, right? There's still just so much unknown about it. And I know everybody wants to get back to work. Look, I want to get back to work too. I want everything to go back to normal too. But I personally too am still cautious, not running back into everything, not running back out into stores and bars and all that stuff. Still trying to pump the brakes. Huh? Oh, okay. We got a little Snoop cut, but yeah, Alan. So,
what's that? We have some comments.
I was just saying. Little Snoop says he was stabbed and a cop still tried to arrest him, slammed his head to the car, and that happened when he was 12. Well, that's unfortunate. I'm sorry to hear that, Little Snoop. I'm sorry to hear that. Okay. All right. Well, anyway, I don't know. Let's wrap it up, I guess. So yeah, like we said, there's some fights on Saturday this week. I don't know. Like I said, we have some no wrong answers with some folks that fought last weekend, like Ian Heinisch too. That was a nice welcome back knockout from Ian as well. So yeah, hopefully I will be talking to the ladies at the top of the marquee for this one this week. You can follow me on Instagram, KB Heat over there. Otherwise, Karyn Bryant across the board. You can follow Wade, who produces this, Wade Eck. You can follow him across the board as well. And also we have MMA Heat. I know some folks were asking about me and Megan doing Killing Even More. Killing Eve is over, which is so sad. So right now there's no Killing Even Mores. Maybe I'll find out from her if there's another show that she likes or something that we'll get into and do breakdowns for. I don't know about that, but I really did enjoy doing that. So maybe we'll bring that back around. Alan, where can folks find you?
Yeah, if any of you are not following me yet, give me a follow. What the hell are you? I mean, what is going on? We're in quarantine. You don't want some entertainment? Hear back, see what I'm doing day to day. I mean, get with the people. At Alan Jouban across your board, all social media. I expect to see you guys following me very shortly.
Yes, and lastly, before we get out of here, didn't you put out some super sexy thing with Black Betty the other day?
Man, I was doing my little R&B car wash, and the water was dripping off of the hood, and yeah, I had to cut it. Yeah, that R&B, man, the water, the car wash, it was fun. Check it out, guys. You'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. All right, folks. Well, take care of yourselves. Take care of each other out there. And, yeah, be safe. And we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.